All right, so now we're going to look at when quadratic equations are not in perfect squares. All right, so our answers here are all going to be in decimals. So basically when you start simplifying it, once you get to the square root phase, there is no square root. It's going to be a decimal. All right, but it's the same exact steps. So here we have a problem, x squared plus 4x minus 10 equals 0. All right, so it's already in standard form. All right, so we know that a is going to equal 1. Whenever there's not a number between any of these, it's always going to be a 1. So a is going to equal 1, b is going to equal 4, and c is going to equal negative 10. All right, so just a reminder, the formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. So let's plug it in. So it's negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4ac minus 2, or all over 2 times 1. All right, so now we're going to have to simplify this. Let's work on simplifying this. Negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 10 is positive 40, because remember, a negative times a negative is a positive, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. All right, so negative 4 plus or minus square root 16 plus 40, 56 divided by 2. All right, you can't take the square root of 56 for this equation because it's going to turn out into a decimal. So for these types of problems, once you get here, this is its most simplified form. All right, so this is where you're going to start breaking it up into negative 4 plus the square root of 56 divided by 2, and negative 4 minus the square root of 56 divided by 2. So this is where you're going to need a calculator. So hopefully you have a graphing calculator or basic calculator, but if you don't, I don't suggest using your phone, but what you can do with your phone is you can use Google, and they have a good calculator option for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the top equation in first. So negative 4 plus the square root of 56. So negative 4 plus square root 56. Make sure we end the parentheses there. All right, so we're going to get that. And then it's going to be divided by 2. All right, so we get that long decimal. On Delta Math, it's going to tell you to round to the nearest tenth. So that's the first decimal point there. So it's going to equal 1.7. All right, so let's do the next one. Negative 4 minus the square root of 56. Negative 4 minus square root 56 equals, so make sure you do the top part first, then divided by 2. Divided by 2, negative 5.7. We're just rounding to the nearest tenths. Negative 5.7. So x equals 1.7 and x equals negative 5.7. And that is how you solve that equation. So let's look at a different problem now. All right, first thing we got to do is put this into standard form. All right, so minus 3x squared minus 17, we're going to end up with 2x squared minus 16x minus 5 equals 0, because remember we just did 5x minus 3x squared, and negative 22 minus 17. Oh, sorry, plus 17. It's negative 5. Okay, so we know that A equals 2, B equals negative 16, C equals negative 5. Alright, so let's plug it into the equation. Negative B, so it's a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Alright, so let's start simplifying this. 16 plus or minus negative 16 squared is 256. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 5. Right, we have a negative and a negative, so it's going to be a positive, so that's going to be positive 40. Alright, because it's negative 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 5 is positive 40. 2 times 2 is 4. Alright, so let's simplify this once more. 16 plus or minus 256 plus 40 is 296, and it's going to be a square root of that divided by 4. Alright, so this is as simplified as we can go. So then we're going to split it up. Alright, so we have 16 plus or minus the square root of 296, all divided by 4. So if we do 16 plus the square root of 296, alright, divided by 4, first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this part into the calculator and then divide it into 4. Alright, and if we round it to the nearest tenths by using your calculators, we find that it's 8.3. Alright, 16 minus the square root of 296. Alright, you've plugged that into the calculator. Divide that by 4. You are going to get negative 0.3. So x is going to equal 8.3. And x is going to equal negative 0.3. Alright, and that is how you solve for decimals using the quadratic formula. Alright, you're going to put it in the same as Delta Math, the same type of thing as you did with the rationals. Just obviously you're not doing fractions this time, so it's even easier. So you just put 8.3, put a comma, negative 0.3, and there you go.